Gannett, New Jersey Newspaper Group, Comcast, and New Jersey 101.5 present a New Jersey Town Meeting, Our People, Our Future. Live from the campus of Rowan University in Southern New Jersey, Monmouth University in Central New Jersey, and CNH Union Studios in Northern New Jersey. And now, here's tonight's moderator, Lane Doyle of CNH It's Your Call.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us for this unique political program. Although our focus has been on the crisis that has gripped our nation since September 11th, we now turn our attention to this year's gubernatorial campaign. It's an important one for New Jersey residents, one that will choose a governor to lead them through the next 4 years. Jim McGreevey is the Democratic Party candidate. He is currently the mayor of Woodbridge, New Jersey, and also served in the New Jersey State Senate. This is his second campaign for the state's top spot. Bret Schundler, the Republican Party candidate, earlier this year completed his second term as mayor of Jersey City, New Jersey. He is making his first attempt to become governor of the Garden State. For the next 2 hours, the two mainstream candidates will answer questions from residents of every corner of our state, including our audience here at Rowan University in South Jersey, an audience at Monmouth University in Central New Jersey, and in our Union, New Jersey studio in Northern New Jersey. We welcome all of you to the program. Now, as you know, CN8 has close to 4 million viewers in this state, and it has partnered with 2 other media giants in New Jersey to bring you this unprecedented media event. Gannett, New Jersey Newspaper Group, with 7 dailies and 4 weeklies for a combined 1.2 million readers, is represented tonight by Bob Engel, the Trenton Bureau Chief. And New Jersey 101.5 Radio, with over 1 million listeners each week, is represented this evening by its news director, Eric Scott. They will also be questioning the candidates, and we appreciate their presence. Now, the rules for the town meeting are relatively simple. Residents will direct questions to each of the candidates, who will each have 1 minute to answer that question. We will also then have a follow-up or a clarification from myself or my colleagues. And I have received assurances from each of the candidates that they will abide by the rules. We appreciate that as well. Having said that, let's go ahead and get started. Our first question this evening comes from Jim Wilden of Audubon, New Jersey. Mr. Wilden, thank you so much for being with us. Your question is directed first to Mr. Schundler.
Gentlemen, good evening. My question is, how do you relate to the common New Jersey voter, with one of you being a Wall Street millionaire and the other being a career politician?
I appreciate that question very much. And I want to let you know a little bit about who I am to answer that. My mother's father, I should say, was a barber. My father's father left home when he was 14, and he became a crew member on a ship. Now, that is a pretty typical story for Americans. My dad himself had to work his way through college. He didn't have any help from his father, who lost all of his money in the Great Depression. When I was in college, I cleaned toilet bowls as one way to pay my bills. I also was a security guard. I don't expect any credit for that. I think that's a pretty normal thing for Americans. As you know, where I live is in the heart of a central city in a very low-income neighborhood. My backyard is affordable housing. On my street, it's principally a minority neighborhood. It's the most diverse city, in fact, according to some, in the United States. And I think it gives me a pretty direct experience what people are confronting. As mayor, I also tried to get out to town meetings or have people visit me at City Hall so I can hear directly what people were dealing with.
Mr. Schundler, thank you very much. Mr. McGreevey?
Yes, I always tell my father that I'm a common man. My father says you have a lot to be common about. I think the point is that I grew up in a middle-class background. My dad, who was here as a Marine Corps drill instructor, my mom a nurse, grew up in middle-class America. And part of it is understanding our concerns. My wife, who's a Portuguese immigrant, consistently tells me that I married up. But most importantly, it's having an understanding of what are the concerns of middle-class families. And I guess back in 1997, when I challenged Governor Whitman, part of it was that I saw in our town hall meetings that people were concerned with property taxes, auto insurance, middle-class pocketbook issues. I think I've lived that life. I represent that life. And this is the decision that I've made, and respectfully, that's why I believe I know and understand New Jersey, and God willing will be a good governor for middle-class Jersey.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the question, Mr. Wilden. Live from our Monmouth University location is Professor Rekha Datta, who will be addressing Mr. McGreevey. Professor, thank you for being with us. Your question?
My question has to do with civil liberties and security. While security is a major concern, the work of the new task force on anti-terrorism may infringe on some of our civil liberties. As governor, would you be concerned about the secrecy and autonomy of this task force? Thank you.
That's an excellent question. I think the first thing we need to understand as Americans, the primary responsibility is the security of our families and of our children. And again, I've called for an Assistant Attorney General to oversee and coordinate counterterrorism operations, to make sure we have a coordinated response with the state police, local police. But I'm also committed, obviously, to civil liberties and the protections of all people. But I understand particularly, God willing, as the next governor, the need to ensure the safety of our families. I believe that is the responsibility of the Attorney General's office. And also, most importantly, working with airports, making sure that we professionalize our security. So yes, I believe we can get this done without unduly inflicting harm on civil liberties. It's a tough balance. It's always been a balance that America's had to tread during times of war, but I'm committing to getting it done. But most importantly, assuring the safety and the security of our families and our children.
Mr. Schundler.
I think this is a very important question, but I don't think we have to imagine that protecting ourselves against terrorism requires giving up civil liberties in any way. We dramatically reduced the activity of organized crime in this state through focusing on it through our state police. The intelligence gathering that we were able to do allowed us not to follow one suspect and who they were in communication with, so we could map out the entire network of those who were supporting that suspect. Now, in doing that, we didn't do eavesdropping or electronic wiretapping because of someone's ethnicity. We did it because we had a reason to believe they were a suspect. And when we followed that suspect in the morning as they got out of bed, and we listened to what they were saying throughout the course of the day before they went back into bed, we were able to hear their plans, we were able to hear who they were in communication with, who was supporting them, and that allowed us to uproot all of the support structure for organized crime and dramatically reduce its incidence. We can do the same thing with regard to combating terrorism.
Given the way that this bill was rushed through, New Jersey's Homeland Security bill, in less than 24 hours it went from bill to law, and this is for both of you, will you order a thorough review of this measure when you take office? It's for both of you.
Well, I believe the acting governor, Don DeFrancesco, did what was required. I think it is a good bill. I think it's applicable. Obviously, as governor, I would call for a thorough review of all procedures. Most importantly, to make sure that New Jersey has the right information and that we're prepared. I believe we have one of the best Office of Emergency Management in the nation, but I also believe it's the responsibility of the next governor to ensure our preparedness. So yes, I do support the operations in secret. Clearly there are responsibilities and there's information that shouldn't be made public, but it's determined to get the job done while abiding by civil liberties.
I think the important thing to realize is that we're never going to get to a point where we can just lay back as a governor and not continually monitor how effective what we're doing is. And frankly, the greater challenges I think we're facing right now are expanding dramatically our ability to respond to a successful attack. We hope that attacks won't be successful, that we will be able to arrest terrorists before they strike. But I think it's extremely important that we do prepare our emergency response personnel for a successful strike. Let's say if you had 1,000 casualties.
Here specifically, Mayor, I'm asking about this particular bill. Do you have civil liberties concerns because of the way this bill was rushed through the legislature, and do you believe that it needs to be reviewed?
I think the bill is an extremely well-crafted bill. I don't think the bill, let me put it this way. Every single day we're going to have to reviewing how well we're doing, and if something we're doing isn't working, we're going to want to adjust it. But it's not the kind of thing where this bill should be considered weak because it was put through expeditiously.
Is it a good thing to push any legislation through in a little over 24 hours?
I have to tell you, I think we're facing immediate challenges. And one of the things we ought to be doing right away is having large numbers of police departments drill together large numbers of hospitals drill together. So among other things, we can see that their communication systems work. We have very great threats that we're facing, and we have to get to work right away making sure that we can respond to those threats. Yes,
I think these are extraordinary times, and they demand a governor to provide the action. And again, I would congratulate Acting Governor DeFrancesco, the response of the state police, but most important, I believe the goal of the task force, Bob, was to bring all the interested parties together, to begin to set forth a plan, identify the necessary resources, and that ensure that New Jersey is prepared. So I believe, yes, this is perhaps very unlike the way legislation normally gets passed, but it's important considering the hardship and the risk at hand.
Let's move on now to our Union, New Jersey location. Terry McKenna is from Dover, New Jersey, and this question goes to Mr. Schundler.
After being a voter for 30 years, I see one of you as a fool who doesn't know that he has to raise taxes, and the other as a liar who won't tell us that he knows he'll have to raise taxes. Can either of you prove me wrong?
You know, I guess if you elect me, I'll have a great opportunity to prove you wrong. So vote for me. You know, when I ran for office in Jersey City, I think you know there are not a lot of Republicans in Jersey City. My wife and I are the only two. When we have a Republican convention, it's called breakfast. Now, I campaigned saying that we could lower taxes when we were facing a huge deficit, and the Democrats said, he's a liar. It can't be done. But the reality was we were able to do it. The people voted for me out of hope and perhaps desperation because they'd been suffering from such constant tax increases under the Democrats. They voted for me. I won by a landslide that first time, 2%. But when I ran for re-election, because I was able to deliver on my promises, I got re-elected by 41 points, the largest margin in Jersey City history. A community, again, which is only 6% Republican, which is now, according to most recent census data, 75% minority. They voted for me because I delivered on what I said I would do. And I can show you in Jersey City programs which are much better, even though we're spending less today than we were.
Mr. McGreevey, would you like to respond to Terry McKenna's question?
Yes, Terry. Again, I believe both of us want to prove you wrong. I think most importantly, government has to live within its means. My frustration during these past 8 years of Republican administration is the cost of government has literally skyrocketed, starting back at $16 billion and now well over $23 billion. We're spending more and more and more, less money available for property tax relief. And the other problem is the debt. Governor Whitman came into office, the state debt was $4.8 billion. Next year, the state debt will be $18 billion. State debt has literally tripled. What I said is, I would cap the New Jersey Saver program for individuals and families earning over $200,000. I would take that money and begin to pay down the debt, begin to be responsible. I also talked about the need to merge government, tighter, more efficient government, merging the Turnpike Authority, the Parkway, and the Atlantic City Expressway, and also refinancing New Jersey's debt. I'm committed to be that governor to live within our means and provide a better bang for your dollar.
We've heard that both from you two before, and let me put this question to you again. If elected governor, will you raise taxes?
Absolutely not. I mean, I think if we, under what circumstances might we be inclined to raise taxes? Jim has said that if we have
no circumstance where a tax hike is necessary if you become governor.
Absolutely, positively, I am going to be cutting taxes. And if we have a very deep recession, which causes a very significant reduction in state revenues, that's especially when we have to get taxes down to put people back to work.
Mr. McGreevey?
Eric, I'm committed to living within our means, and it's going to be some tough choices. I said publicly where I would cut. I talked about capping the New Jersey Saver program for families earning above $200,000. Clearly, they enjoyed the benefit of the federal tax cut. I talked about merging government. We're going to have to make some tough decisions, but I'm committed to having our state government live within its means.
If you are just joining us, you are watching CN8 and listening to New Jersey 101.5, and this is a unique opportunity if you are interested in the New Jersey gubernatorial election. We have both mainstream candidates here, Bret Schundler, who is the Republican candidate, and Jim McGreevey, who is the Democratic candidate, taking part in a statewide town meeting, answering questions right from the people who can cast the votes on November 6th. And one of those people is Christina Collins of Camden. She is our next resident with a question for the candidate. This one is addressed first to Mr. McGreevey. Thank you, Christina.
Good evening, gentlemen. Of course, we all know that illegal gun usage is a major problem in New Jersey, especially in our urban areas. What do you suggest or what would be a solution that will help decrease illegal guns in our state?
Christina, great question. Part of it is, and I voted for the ban on assault weapons